The champagne glass slipped from my fingers, shattering against the marble floor like my heart had just broken inside my chest. The sound cut through the laughter and music in the room, making everyone turn to stare. But I wasn't looking at them. I was staring at my sister Rachel's radiant face as she rubbed her belly with one hand and held my husband's hand with the other. "We're having a baby," she announced again. Her voice echoed through our anniversary party like a death sentence. I felt the room spin around me. The faces of friends and family blurred together. Someone gasped, someone whispered, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears like a drum. What happened next would change everything I did in that moment. I'd make them all pay in ways they never imagined. My name is Angela. 6 months ago, I thought I was living a fairy tale. I'd been married to Ryan for 5 years. We lived in a beautiful house in the suburbs with white picket fences and rose bushes. He worked as a financial advisor with a good income. I was a nurse at the local hospital. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. Ryan was tall and handsome, with dark hair and green eyes that could melt any woman. He had a charming smile that made people trust him instantly. I was petite, with blonde hair and blue eyes. People always said we looked like we'd stepped off a magazine cover, but perfect lives are often just pretty lies. The first time Ryan hit me was 2 years after our wedding. I burned dinner after working a double shift at the hospital. He slapped me so hard my lips split. "Look what you made me do," he said, his voice icy calm. "If you were a better wife, this wouldn't happen." I believed him. I truly thought it was my fault. The hits grew more frequent, a shove here, a shake there, then punches where no one could see, ribs, stomach, back. Ryan was smart. He never left visible marks. "You're clumsy," he'd tell people if I showed bruises. "Always bumping into doors, right, sweetheart?" And I'd smile and nod, too scared and ashamed to tell the truth. Ryan controlled everything. He took over our bank accounts, checked my phone nightly, drove me to and from work so I couldn't go anywhere without him knowing. He said it was because he loved me so much, but I knew the truth. The isolation was the worst. Slowly, he pushed all my friends away. "Sarah's a bad influence," he'd say. "She wants to split us up. Your work friends don't care about you. They're just pretending. Why do you need friends when you have me?" I lost everyone who cared about me, except my sister Rachel. Rachel was 3 years younger and the family rebel. She had long red hair and green eyes like our mother. She was stunning and knew it. She could walk into any room and have every man staring. Growing up, I was the responsible one. Rachel was wild. I got straight A's. Rachel skipped school and came home drunk. I went to college and became a nurse. Rachel cycled through jobs and boyfriends, but despite our differences, we were close. She was my only family after our parents died 3 years ago. Ryan knew how much Rachel meant to me, so he never tried to cut her off completely. Instead, he turned on the charm. "Your sister's so fun," he'd say. "I'm glad she's part of our family." I should have seen the warning signs. It started small. Rachel texted me less. When she visited, she and Ryan would talk for hours. While I cooked dinner, they'd laugh at jokes I couldn't hear. "What's so funny?" I'd ask. "Oh, nothing," Rachel would say with a new smile I'd never seen. "Just guy stuff." Ryan began working late, coming home smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. When I asked, he'd rage. "Are you accusing me of something? After all I do for you?" Then came punishment, a slap, a shove, sometimes worse. The bruises on my body told the story of a marriage crumbling, but I still couldn't see it. I was too busy trying to hold everything together. 4 months before our anniversary party, Ryan started treating me better. He brought flowers, kissed me goodbye, even took me to dinner. I thought things were improving. I thought he was changing. How wrong I was. What I didn't know, 6 months earlier, Ryan had taken out a $2 million life insurance policy on me, and he'd been planning my death ever since. I discovered the policy on a Tuesday morning in March. I found a letter in Ryan's jacket pocket while prepping it for dry cleaning. It was an insurance update, my name listed as the insured for $2 million. I sat on our bed, hands shaking. We'd never discussed life insurance. Why would he get a policy this large without telling me? I slipped the letter back, pretending nothing was wrong. "Sleep well, sweetheart?" Ryan asked over breakfast. "Fine," I said, my voice strained. "You look pale." "Just tired from work. I couldn't focus at the hospital." At lunch, I called the insurance company. "Yes, Mrs. Maccabee," a woman confirmed. "The policy was taken out 6 months ago. Your husband's the beneficiary." 6 months ago, exactly when Ryan's kindness began. A cold dread settled in my stomach. That night, I watched him closely. His smile, his touch, his "I love you" as we went to bed. It all felt like a performance. But I still didn't know about Rachel. That came 3 weeks before our anniversary party. I came home early with a migraine. Hearing noises upstairs, I crept up to our bedroom. The door was ajar. Ryan was in our bed with Rachel, my sister, naked, tangled in sheets I'd washed that morning. Rachel's red hair fanned across my pillow. Ryan's hands roamed her body. Betrayal hit me like a physical blow. I stumbled downstairs, sat in my car, and cried until I was empty. When I returned an hour later, Rachel was gone. Ryan was showering. "Rough day?" he asked, kissing my forehead. "Long shift," I managed. That night, he made love to me in the same bed he had shared with Rachel hours earlier. I stared at the ceiling and began to plan. So I began gathering evidence. I bought a small recording device and hid it in our bedroom. I placed a GPS tracker in Ryan's car. I started keeping a journal of everywhere he went and everything he did. The affair had lasted months, perhaps up to a year. Ryan told me he was working late, but the GPS showed he was at Rachel's apartment. He claimed to be meeting clients, but he was really meeting my sister. The recordings I obtained turned my stomach, not just because of the sex, but because of what they said. Rachel's laugh on one recording. "She has no idea. Angela is so trusting, it's pathetic." Ryan's reply. "Don't feel bad for her." "She's getting what she deserves," Rachel asked. "When will you leave her?" Ryan answered, "Soon, very soon." But the worst recording came 2 weeks before our anniversary party. Ryan said, "The insurance policy is ready. $2 million. Rachel asked casually, as if discussing the weather, "How will you do it?" Ryan answered in the same tone, "A car accident. I'll make it look like she fell asleep driving home after work. She does those late shifts all the time. No one will question it." Rachel replied, "There won't be much investigation." And Ryan quickly reassured her, "I know people. And if there is, I'll be the grieving husband. They'll pity me." I sat in the car listening to that recording and felt something shift inside me. The fear I'd lived with for years transformed into something else, something harder, colder. They weren't just betraying me. They were planning to kill me. I had 2 weeks to figure out how to save my life and make them pay for what they'd done. I thought about going to the police, but what would I say? That my husband was cheating on me with my sister? That's not a crime. That they talked about killing me? They'd say it was just words. The insurance policy was suspicious, but Ryan could explain it away. He was a financial advisor. It made sense for him to consider life insurance. No, I needed something bigger. Something that would destroy them both and ensure they could never harm me or anyone else again. Then I remembered something from nursing school. We'd learned about different drugs and their effects on the body. One medication in particular caught my attention, digitalis, derived from the foxglove plant Daedalera. In small doses, it treats heart problems. In large doses, it's lethal. And here's the interesting part. It's very hard to detect in an autopsy unless specifically tested for. One researched everything I could about digitalis. How much would be lethal? How long until it takes effect? How to obtain it? Foxglove plants weren't hard to find. They grew wild in the woods behind our house. I'd walked past them hundreds of times without knowing what they were. The plan took shape in my mind. Our 5th wedding anniversary was on a Saturday. Ryan had suggested throwing a big party to celebrate. "Let's invite everyone," he said, "all our friends and family." I agreed, but for reasons different from his. I spent 2 weeks planning that party, ordering food, decorating the house, sending invitations. The night before the party, I played the role of the happy wife perfectly. I went to the woods and collected foxglove leaves. I wore gloves and took great care. Back home, I ground them into a fine powder using a coffee grinder, which I later threw away. I put the powder into 2 drinks, 2 special drinks I prepared only for Ryan and Rachel. The party began at 7 p.m. By 7:30, the house was full. Work friends, neighbors, college classmates. Everyone laughed, drank, and enjoyed themselves. Ryan was the perfect husband, his arm around me, telling everyone how lucky he was to have me, this beautiful woman, 5 years together. He raised his glass to many more years. Rachel arrived fashionably late as always, wearing a tight red dress that accentuated her figure. I watched Ryan's eyes follow her as she walked through the room. At around 9 p.m., I made my move. "I have a special toast," I announced, capturing everyone's attention. "But first, Ryan and Rachel, I've prepared special drinks for you, your favorites." I gave Ryan a glass of his favorite whiskey, into which I'd mixed the digitalis powder. Very carefully, the bitter taste masked by the alcohol. For Rachel, I made a cosmopolitan with extra cranberry juice. The powder dissolved perfectly in the pink liquid. "What's the occasion?" Ryan asked, but he was already raising the glass to his lips. "You'll see." I smiled. They drank. Ryan finished his whiskey in 2 gulps. Rachel sipped her cosmopolitan, but drank almost all of it. I waited. Digitalis takes 30 to 60 minutes to take effect. At 9:30 p.m., Ryan touched his chest, seeming confused. At 9:45 p.m., Rachel suddenly sat down, saying she felt dizzy. At 10, Rachel made her announcement. "I have something to tell everyone," she said, standing on shaky legs, her face flushed, breathing heavily. "Ryan and I are having a baby." She grabbed Ryan's hand and lifted it like they'd won a prize. Then I let my champagne glass fall. The room fell completely silent, except for the sound of shattering glass on the floor. I looked at all the faces staring at me, some shocked, some confused, some wishing they could disappear. "You said you're having a baby?" I asked, my voice deathly calm, staring at my husband. Rachel's face grew redder by the second. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she lifted her chin defiantly. "Yes, we're in love, Angela. We have been for months. Ryan is leaving you." I turned to my husband. "Right, Ryan?" Ryan clutched his chest, breathing with difficulty, but nodded. "I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out like this." "Oh, but I already knew," I replied. My voice echoed in the silent room. "I've known for weeks." I walked to our entertainment center and took out the small recording device I'd hidden earlier. "Like this," I said, pressing play. Rachel's voice filled the room. "She has no idea. Angela is so trusting, it's pathetic." Then Ryan's voice. "Don't feel bad for her. She's getting what she deserves." Gasps of surprise echoed through the room. I pressed stop and stared at them both. "But that's not all. I also know about the life insurance." "Ryan, millions of dollars. I know your plan to kill me." I pressed play again. Ryan's voice boomed. "The insurance policy is ready. $2 million. Rachel's voice answered, "How will you do it?" And Ryan answered, "Car accident." I'll make it look like she fell asleep driving home from work. The room erupted. People began screaming. Someone shouted. Ryan tried to lunge at me, but stumbled and fell to his knees. Wondering why you both feel sick now? I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. Digitalis, I'd put it in your drinks. Rachel collapsed into a chair, gasping. What did you say? Digitalis, I repeated. Comes from the foxglove plant, very poisonous. You have about 20 minutes before your heart stops beating. Panic seized the room. People ran toward the door. Someone called 911. But I wasn't finished. Wait, I shouted. Something in my voice made everyone freeze. There's more you need to know? I looked straight at Ryan, now lying gray-faced and shallow breathing on the floor. Want to know the truth? Ryan has been abusing me for 3 years. I lifted my shirt, showing faded bruises on my ribs. I rolled up my sleeves, revealing finger marks on my arms. He's been beating me, controlling me, isolating me from everyone I love. And when that wasn't enough, he decided to kill me for the insurance money. I turned to Rachel, slumped in the chair, eyes wide with terror. And you, my own sister. You knew what he was doing to me. You saw the bruises. You asked me about them, remember? And I told you I was clumsy, but you knew the truth. You knew and didn't care. You wanted him anyway. Rachel tried to speak, but only managed a choked sound. The baby. Oh, the baby, I said with a cold smile. Here's something interesting about digitalis. It crosses the placental barrier. So if you really are pregnant, which I doubt, that baby is dying with you. Sirens grew closer in the distance. Wondering if I'll really let you die? I asked, looking from one to the other, wondering if there's an antidote. Ryan's eyes pleaded. All his charm and control were gone, just a frightened man facing death. There is an antidote. It's called dosnim fab. The paramedics have it. Hope flashed in their eyes. But here's the detail. I didn't give you enough digitalis to kill you. I gave you enough to make you very, very sick. You'll survive, but you'll never be the same. The front door burst open. Paramedics rushed in, followed by police. They've been poisoned. Digitalis, you need to administer dosnim fab immediately. As they attended to Ryan and Rachel, an officer approached me. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. I understand, I replied. But first, you'll want to hear these recordings. Review the insurance policy my husband took out without my knowledge, and these photos. I pulled out my phone, showing time-stamped photos of bruises from recent months. My husband has been abusing me for years. He and my sister planned to kill me for insurance money. I have it all recorded. The trial was a scandal. My recordings played in court. The insurance policy was analyzed. Abuse evidence was presented. Ryan and Rachel survived the poisoning just as I'd planned, but were never the same. Digitalis damaged their hearts. They'll need medication and lifelong monitoring. Ryan was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and domestic abuse. Received 25 years. Rachel was charged as an accomplice to conspiracy to commit murder. Received 10 years. I was charged with attempted murder, but my lawyer argued self-defense. I was an abused woman who discovered her husband and sister planned to kill her. The jury deliberated just 2 hours before declaring me not guilty. The judge said something I'll never forget. Mrs. Maccabee, while I can't condone your methods, I understand your desperation. You were failed by a system meant to protect you. I hope you now find peace. 2 years have passed since that night. I moved away from our city and changed my name. I work at another hospital in another state. I've been in therapy to process the abuse and everything that happened. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty for what I did. I poisoned 2 people. I could have killed them. But then I remember the recordings. I remember Ryan's voice. Car accident. Make it look like she fell asleep driving home from work. I remember Rachel laughing at how trusting I was. They were going to kill me. They planned it like a business transaction. I saved my life that night and ensured they could never hurt anyone else the way they hurt me. Months ago, I received a letter from Ryan, sent from prison. He wanted to apologize, said he regretted everything had done and understood why I did what I did. I threw it away unread. Some say I should forgive him, that holding on to anger only hurts me. But those people have never been beaten by someone who claimed to love them, never been betrayed by their own sister. I do not forgive them. I never will. But I'm not angry anymore either. I'm free. I have a new life, a better life. I live in a small apartment by the sea. I hear waves from my window. I have new friends who don't know my history. I've even started seeing someone, a kind man who's never raised his voice, let alone his hand. Sometimes people ask if I regret what I did that night. Would you do it differently if you could go back? The answer is no. I'd do everything exactly the same. Ryan and Rachel thought they could destroy me. They thought I was weak, trusting, foolish. They thought they could use me, abuse me, and eventually kill me, and no one would ever know the truth. They were wrong. That night at our anniversary party, when my sister announced she was pregnant with my husband's baby, they expected me to break down, to cry, beg, collapse. Instead, I served them justice and their favorite drinks. I am not the woman I was before that night. That woman was a victim, scared, broken, alone. I am no longer her. I am the woman who fought. I am the woman who survived. I am the woman who made sure those who tried to destroy her got exactly what they deserved. And that is the woman I can live with. If this story stirred your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a dose of love dopamine. I'll keep bringing you more tales of passion, heartbreak, and redemption crafted for the ones who still believe in love. And if you stayed until the very end, thank you. You're the kind of soul who believes in love, even when it hurts. Love harder, dream deeper. Until the next heartbeat.